Hello everyone and welcome to the epic 7th Winter 2024-25 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, trying to bring you yet more winter data. We're up to update number 7 and this is going to be a proper epic. We're going to start off with a little mini Solar Sunday actually. We're going to have a bit of a solar special and then we'll expand it all out and have a look at the rest of the winter updates goodness. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and I shall get on with your 7th winter update in a moment. This update marks the halfway point of the winter update, so we've got 13 penciled in. We are now, well, when we get through this anyway, over the halfway mark. So unbelievable. What a series of updates it's been so far, but we'll perhaps save the best for last. I don't know. I'll let you make your mind up about that as we move into the business end of the updates from this update onwards. So, of course, GavsWeatherVids Winter 24-25 forecast will be released on Sunday, the 1st of December. Wow, 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 wow. I don't know. Anyway, I'll get on with the 7th winter update in a second. Just say that the first video release date was our 6 a.m. UK weather forecast. We're live at 6 p.m. with, well, we're going to be discussing this winter update, and we'll also, of course, be bringing you a 10 to 14 day and plenty of long range as it is a Sunday live stream. So all of that to come at 6 p.m. I shall see you live a little bit later on. Thank you so much to Richard Trott for our amazing winter updates gift. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Thanks so much to Richard, the king of swing. In fact, the swingometer is the first thing, I'm so sorry. Well, the first thing that you're going to see is the swingometer in this 7th winter update, and that will be coming up very shortly. Thanks so much to Shrine Bruin as well for all the help on the update, and Terry Scully too. It's been a proper hashtag Team Gav effort, this one. So when we get to the points where Terry, Shrine and Rich have helped with, of course, I will shout them out. Thank you so much, everybody. With all that said, I reckon we better get on, because I'm going to try and keep this under the hour mark, even though, blimey and goodness gracious me, we have got so much to get through. So let's see how we get on keeping this under the hour. The first thing we're going to start off with is the swingometer. Of course it is. So, King of Swing Richard has been swinging, haven't you, Rich? Rich has been swinging this week. And this is how the swingometer, sorry, Richard. This is how the swingometer is looking as of 6 winter updates. 1 season model roundup, and of course the winter 24-25 area forecast that kicked it all off back in the summer. So in 5, in 4, in 3, in 2, in 1, here we go. And well, it's Jack. Here's Johnny. So boom. We still remain at 60-40 to favouring a colder than average winter after all of those updates. That is unchanged from last week. Last week's 6th winter update did not move the swingometer either way, so the swingo stays at 60-40 in favour of the cold winter. You'll find out at the beginning of next week's 8th winter update how the 7th update has affected the swingometer, if indeed it has. So that will be the first thing you'll see at the beginning of next week's update. Thank you so much to our King of Swing, the amazing Richard Shaw. Thank you so much, Richard, for that. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, let's start off 7th winter update then. So we're going to begin, as I say, with a little bit of a solar special. So this is how the solar disc is currently looking on our side of this day from Surham.net. We've got sunspot regions all over the place, and Surham is reporting that solar activity is at moderate levels and is expected to remain at moderate levels for the next 3 days as well. Hold on. So sorry, but of course we had a massive amount of aurora the other night, didn't we? The aurora, you know, aurora borealis, that's what I'm looking for. Northern Lights, right, that's what I'm trying to think of. I went blank. No, but Northern Lights, sounds like Northern Lights the other night. Again, we're seeing quite a bit of this through this solar maximum. So, of course, this is a more active solar cycle compared to the last solar cycle. More about that in a second. And this is how the GavsWeatherVids 7th Winter 24-25 Winter Update Solar Tracker It's looking sent through by Schreier. Thank you so much, Schreier, for sending this through. So the orange line, orange spots predicting each individual day as well as sunspot activity. So back in the summer, we had a large amount of sunspots, daily sunspots then. Didn't say in September, did see a drop down. We fell down a little bit in September, but it looks like we're starting to tip back up again, actually, with our daily sunspot numbers, to some degree anyway, over the past few days. But green line, which is the 30-day average, the drop there has been arrested, and it's currently pretty flat. The blue line looks like it is, which is the 60-day average. That moves around much less, of course. Looks like that is still trending downwards. But I've got a feeling we'll probably see sunspot numbers coming in a little bit above September during October. It will be interesting to see. Notice how we have gone from pretty weak solar activity back in the autumn of 2022 down here to what is looking suspiciously like being very, very close to solar maximum now, if not at solar maximum, just here. Excuse me, everyone. This is from Shrine as well. This is solar cycle 23, 24, and 25 by comparison. You've seen this one before, I think. So this is showing monthly sunspot numbers. You can see August peak in monthly sunspot numbers just there, but September then lowers things down quite a bit to back to level. I've got a feeling October will probably come in somewhere around there, somewhere between August and September. I think we will be up a little bit for October's monthly sunspot number, given all of the northern lights that we're seeing at the moment. Now, as I say, this is a more active solar cycle than the previous solar cycle. So solar cycle 24 is just here. Had two peaks in the maximum, one in 2011 and one at the beginning of 2014, which was the peak of solar cycle 24. I reckon this August is probably at least the first peak of solar cycle 25, and we will wait and see whether we get a second peak, and if we do, whether it's above that first peak. Now, going back to solar cycle 23, which ran from 1996 to 2008, we can see that also had two peaks of the solar cycle, one in 2000 and another one in 2002. It was the first peak. The one in 2000 was actually the peak of that particular solar cycle. And you notice that although this is a more active solar cycle than 24, it's not as active as 23 so far in terms of the monthly sunspot number. So it's somewhere in between 24 and 23. This is how we're ranking compared to all solar cycles from number 1 to number 25. The black line, of course, just there is solar cycle 25. So we're kind of halfway in the pack now. We're kind of in the middle of the pack, really. These are the weaker solar cycles down here, and we have sort of moved away from those to some degree. We aren't up with the strongest solar cycles, these ones up here, the strongest solar maximums, though. So we're somewhere in the middle. We're kind of a little bit above the weaker cycles, but not reaching, you know, an active cycle at the moment. Notice the two Dalton minimum solar cycles of number 5 and number 6 showing up very nicely just there. They're the weakest two solar cycles within the within all of the solar cycles from number 1 through to number 25. So we're just there. So we've lifted up above the weakest solar cycles, but we are underneath all of the strongest of the solar cycles as well. And this is how we are looking compared to the weakest solar cycles, which, as I say, up to Dalton minimum cycles of number 5 and number 6. That's the blue and orange line just there. And also solar cycle 12, which is this grey line just here. Solar cycle 14, which is the yellow line. Solar cycle 16, which is the other blue line just there. And the last solar cycle, number 24, which is the green line. Well, you can see, but solar cycle 25 is above all of those other weaker solar cycles. It is still a pretty weak solar cycle, but it is like the strongest of those weakest, if you get what I mean. So we are short of like a proper active strong solar cycle. We're short of that. but we're above the weakest, if you get what I mean. The strongest of those weakest previously was number 16, I think, this blue line just here, and we're above that one. It'll be interesting where that black line goes from here. It's about as high as it's going to get, and then kind of flatline and then start to fall. Or could that carry on rising a little bit more over the next year or so, maybe get to about there and then starting to fall? Well, do something more like that, actually. But get what I mean. So it's going to be interesting to monitor that, and we will keep you updated, of course, next year with what's going on. I've got another solar Sunday, I think, penciled in, normally sometime around the spring. So we shall keep you updated about how that is developing. Thank you so much, Shrine Brill, for updating all of the solar trackers. Thank you so much, Shrine. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Right, okay, this is from Richard. This is from Richard Shaw, showing spotless days and also the current spotless stretch. Now, as we're at solar maximum, we're not expecting to get any spotless days. And if we do start getting spotless days, we'll know something really bizarre is going on. So for 2024 so far, we have had 0 spotless days. Every day this year has had sunspots, as was the case in 2023 as well. In 2022, we had 1 day without sunspots, and in 2021 had 64 days. 2020 had 208 days, and our solar minimum year from solar cycle 24-25 was, of course, 2019 with 281 days without sunspots. I only said with sunspots, mate, didn't I, Rich? Though our comparable year back to the last solar cycle was, I think, 2013. This year, just here, was our comparable year to 2024. And that also had every day with sunspots. There was 1 day in 2014, interesting, but didn't have any sunspots. So that's like a solar maximum year, so that was quite bizarre. And then 2015, every day had sunspots. And then 2016, that's when solar minimum started to show its hands with 32 days without sunspots. So if everything pans out as we're expecting, 2025 will be comparable to 2014. 2026 will be comparable to 2015. So both 2025 and 2026 should all days should have sunspots, really. And it's 2027 when we should start to see solar minimum showing its hand. The comparable year then will be 2016, and then through 2028 and 2029 we will find the solar minimum deepening, and we should reach solar minimum, if it all works out as we're expecting, which probably won't do, but if it does, we'll reach solar minimum in 2030. The comparable year then will be 2019, won't it, Rich? Star Wars, I love it. Thank you so much to Richard Shaw for our spotless days gift. So thank you so much to Shrine, and thank you so much to Richard. Now it's time to bring you analogues. So as we're doing a bit of a solar special for this first section, number 7 winter update, we are going to be looking at solar maximum winters, and Terry Scully has very helpfully picked these out for us, so thank you so much to the legend, the guru, the long-range forecasting guru that is Terry. I had a very, very nice half an hour on the phone, on the blower, on the dog and bone with Terry, didn't I, Terry? We had a nice chat, didn't we, the other night? So thank you so much, Terry, for putting up with me, calling you up and wasting your time and whatnot. Thank you so much, my friend. And I love chatting with you. And thank you so much for getting our years together. Right, so let's do this, Ben. So we know we are at solar maximum. So we've already established we can get 2 peaks of solar maximum. I think probably had our first peak a couple of months ago of solar cycle 25. We might get another peak next year. So like 2, tend to be, I have to think about 2 solar maximum winters. Terry has picked these out for us. So the first solar maximum winter he has picked out is 1957-1958. This one with a mid-Atlantic ridge and a trough of low pressure away to the east, and winds coming in from the north and from the northwest there. So That is a rather coolish and unsettled winter. Gets colder later, late February and into March. We also have 58, 59 picked out from Terry, and this one with high pressure to the north, low pressure to west-southwest. It has a colder March, otherwise, has a colder January, I should say, otherwise it does get quite mild later in the winter and into the spring. Then we have the solar maximum winter of 67, 68 showing up next. This one with low pressure away to the east, high pressure is out in the Atlantic, just here, and wind tend to come in, put your teeth in, Gav, from northerly direction. Lots of northerly cold snaps in that winter, and particularly cold in February of 1968. Next up, we've got 68, 69, which I think is the solar maximum winter of that solar cycle, with strong blocking around Greenland and plenty of low pressure running underneath it. So it has a white Christmas, a famous white Christmas for the Midlands and other parts of the country, 1968. A relatively mild and wet January, and it gets very, very cold at the end of January, bitterly cold then, and a freezing cold, although not sub-zero CT month, but a very cold and snowy February in 1969. So two back-to-back cold February, 68, 69, both solar maximum winters. Right, we're going with gas. The next solar maximum winter that Terry's picked out for us is 1978, 1979. And this one with high pressure blocking around Greenland. Low pressure is going underneath it, winds in from the east. It's a famous winter of discontent, freezing cold and very, very snowy. Famous New Year blizzard, and then we get the snow and freezing cold weather on and off through January and February as well. Last time we had a sub-zero CT January was in 1979. Blimey. And then we've got 1979, 1980. Next solar maximum winter that Terry's picked out. This one with high pressure to the north, low pressure coming in to the west of Europe. So that's a milder winter and also wetter. After that very cold winter for 78, 79, we get a milder winter for 79, 80. We've got 88, 89 showing up next. This is a mild and dry winter. About as bad as it gets, this one. If you want a cold winter with high pressure to the south, low pressure is away to the north, and winds coming in from the west or southwesterly direction. That is like the antithesis, blimey, it's the antithesis of, I pronounced that all right, didn't I, of 78, 79. And then we've also got 1989, 1990. This is also a very mild winter, with low pressure in the North Atlantic, high pressure down across southern Europe, and winds are coming in from a southwesterly direction. Much wetter that winter compared to the one before it, but both of them are very mild. A trilogy of very mild winters at the end of the 80s. 87, 88, 88, 89, 89, 90. And then the next one that Terry's picked out is 2000. And one. This is a colder winter, actually, for the era. Nothing particularly special, to be honest, but for the era, for the 90s to early 2000s, which is generally a period of mild winter, this is actually a rather colder one. And does even deliver some snow at times in the south, but it's a very cold winter, actually, for Scotland, and quite a snowy winter up there. Further south, for England, Wales, and Ireland, it's a rather milder winter, but still has some cold snaps. There's a nice little cold snap between Christmas and New Year, for example, of 2000, that does produce some snow even down in the south. There's a few cold snaps as well for lowland southern England in January, February and March, and even April of 2001. And then we've got 2001, 2002, our next solar maximum winter with high pressure through here, low pressure out in the Atlantic. It doesn't tell you a great deal about this winter, really, that analogue. It has a cold December, very cold around Christmas to New Year and into the beginning of January. Freezing cold conditions, severe frost and whatnot. It gradually gets milder as January progresses, culminating in a very mild but also wet February. And then the last solar maximum, of course, was the maximum for solar cycle 20... When was it? Solar cycle 24. And Terry has picked out 2013, 2014 for this one, with lots of low pressure in the Atlantic. So mild, wet and windy for that winter. Very stormy winter, actually very wet winter. Lots of Atlantic storms. And 2014, 2015 as well, with low pressure to the north, high pressure in the Atlantic. That's about average for the C tier, 1 or 2 cold snaps, but overall quite a mild winter. Right, putting all that together, this is how the all Decembers combined are looking for our solar maximum winters. And overall, a mild and wet still. There's a bit of a blocking signal around Greenland, but overridden really by all this low pressure in the Atlantic and across northern Europe as well. So a mild, wet December in favour there. The blocking signal strengthens into January, interestingly, but still that low pressure stubbornly sitting over the west of Europe. So overall, because there can be exceptions to the rule, but overall, it looks like a mild and wet signal for the Januaries as well. And then it goes on into the Februaries as well. The blocking signal actually goes away completely, or almost completely in the Februaries. Lots of low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. So looks like a signal for a wet winter, but also for a mild winter. Again, there will be exceptions to that. Got 1969 in the pack, for example, which was a very cold and snowy February. All winters combined for solar maximum winters look like this. Lots of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, so a mild and also wet signal for those winters. What about if we just look at the even and odd numbered solar cycles, though? So, of course, we're in an odd numbered solar cycle at the moment, solar cycle number 25. What about if we only look at the even numbered solar cycles? So that will be solar cycle 24. It will be solar cycle 22, and it will be solar cycle 20, just here. So for all Decembers combined for the even numbered solar cycles, remember these aren't particularly relevant for like the current situation. We'll come on to the odd numbered solar cycles in a moment, but for all Decembers combined for even numbered solar cycles, higher pressure tends to be out in the Atlantic, low pressure to be so a rather dryish signal and pretty mild signal too for the Decembers. But January is not mild and wet with these even numbered solar cycles, low pressure up to the north, winds coming in from off the Atlantic in a westerly fashion. All February's combined look even wetter, but more unsettled, deep low pressure through the west of Europe, a mild wet signal for both Februaries, even with 1969 in the pack as well, interestingly. And all winters combined for even numbered solar cycles looking generally mild and wet, despite December being a little bit dry. Remember, they're not relevant though, because we're in an odd numbered solar cycle actually at the moment. So what about if we look at all Decembers combined for odd numbered solar cycles? And that will be, I think, solar cycle 19, solar cycle 21, and solar cycle 23. Of course, the current solar cycle is 25. Well, all Decembers combined has much more of a blocking signal with these odd numbered solar cycles. There's a much stronger high pressure around green ice, and consequently the low pressure gets pushed southwards. It's a more unsettled signal for the Decembers, but potentially a bit colder, especially so for the northern half of the country there, I would say. But it gets more interesting for the Januaries. This is how all Januaries combined are looking for odd numbered solar cycles when we're at solar maximum. And, well, we really do strengthen that blocking signal around Greenland. December jet stream southwards. You could envisage a cold January here, couldn't you? Perhaps not a surprise with 1979, our last sub-zero CT January in the mix. But yeah, you know, quite interesting how that blocking signal strengthens in the Januaries. And then all Februaries combine for odd number solar cycles at solar maximum. Much more of an anti-cyclonic signal, so we get the drier weather later and probably milder by then on average as well. Although there could be a few cold snaps still coming into the mix. Notice the blocking signal around Greenland completely reduces and deflates in February's. Finally, all winters combined with odd number solar cycles when we're at solar maximum. Looks like that. High pressure is up towards Greenland and Iceland. Low pressure is to the south of the country. Winds are coming in from an easterly direction. Potentially a cold winter signal for those. Particularly, that is the case in January. It's January really, but skewering, I think, that blocking still. We see much less of it in December, and particularly, of course, in February as well. Okay, we're going to start a little mini solar special there for this 7th winter day. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give us a like. Show to everyone for doing that. Right, we're going to have a little break then. And when we come back, we're going to have a look at stratospheric data. So go stretch your legs, have a little think about what you just witnessed. And then when you get back, we're going to be looking at strat data I shall see you in 2 seconds' time for that. See you soon, everyone. Okay, we're back. We're ready to resume the epic 7th Winter 2024-25 updates from GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to another winter update. We're at the halfway point of winter updates now. Very interesting data in the first section of this video. Did also a special thank you so much to Terry, the amazing Terry Scully, for sorting out all of those solar maximum years. Thank you to the wonderful Richard Shaw, our King of Swing, as well, for the solar gear. Thank you so much, Rich. And thank you so much to the awesome Shrine Bruin for getting those solar trackers updated for us as well. Hashtag Team Gav doing an amazing job in the first section of this winter update. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, let's crack on then. As I say, before the break, we're going to have a look at strat data next. So this temperatures are currently looking at 10 HPA over the Arctic and over the North Pole. The black line is how the temperature is performing through this season, where we currently are, versus the grey line, which is the trend line. You can see that we're bang on average for the temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. Nothing particularly interesting going on. Temperature's about minus 62, something like that. Going a little bit low down to 30 HPA. We can see that there we are dropping, actually. So it was above average about a week or so ago. We're now sort of on parity with the grey line. So it has seen temperature cooling down by about 10 degrees or so over the past week or so there, but only back down to around average. This is how latest GFS is forecasting temperatures at 10 HPA over the North Pole. The blue colours here are the cold temperatures in Australia at 10 HPA. That's the polar vortex at its roots, of course. Temperatures around minus 60 to minus 68 from over the pole and whatnot. Well, we see that those blue colours continue there, as you'd expect. Polar vortex continue to expand out, but not really intensifying in terms of the temperature. Anyway, so not getting particularly cold. Does go down to about minus 72 there in about 10 days' time. So, expected to continue to cool down. Of course, that might be a little bit colder than average for the time of the year. But overall, nothing especially dramatic going on. Temperatures by the end of October, somewhere between around minus 68 to minus 72. If we go back to just here, where will that rank us by the end of October? So by the end of October, we expect to be close to about minus 70. Really. So again, that'll be quite close to average. Might be a little bit below par, but nothing particularly exciting going on there. What has been quite interesting with the polar vortex so far this season is the weakness of the zonal wind. So the zonal wind is another way of looking at the strength of the polar vortex. So back in September, we actually had a record-breakingly weak zonal wind. I don't think we're record-breakingly weak now, but we are certainly weaker than average. The thick red line is like average, really, and we're under that, still quite significantly. So despite the fact the temperature isn't doing anything particularly unusual, it's about average. Nevertheless, it is a pretty weak zonal wind. It is a weak polar vortex. However, we are from the east hemisphere where seeing that the zonal wind is forecast to become stronger than average actually by the end of October and into November. So it's a little bit hard to make this out due to the other blue lines, but there is a thick blue line just here, which is the ensemble mean. And notice by the last week of October, let's change the colour, actually that might help, mightn't it? So by the last week of October, the ensemble mean is actually crossing over with the long-term average. And as we go into November, we actually see that thick blue line, which is the ensemble mean, becoming actually stronger than average. So we're going to see the polar, if this is right, because it's only forecast, could be wrong, but if the forecast is right, we are going to see the polar vortex powering up, and at 10 HPA anyway, in the stratosphere at its roots, and we can expect a stronger than average zonal wind as we go on into November. Of course, that might not necessarily be realised in the troposphere, though. That's at the stratospheric level. So whether we realise that strengthening of the zonal wind there through November and power up the polar vortex in the troposphere, that's another question. We'll have more strat data next week, of course we will. QBO, just confirming again, is from NASA, but we're in west phase of quasi-biennial oscillation. Western QBO descended from the stratosphere, 10 HPA just here, to the troposphere, which is 50 HPA just there. So this will be a westerly QBO winter. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast, looking like this. A black line shows where we've been, with the Arctic oscillation, red lines of ENSO, GFS ensembles forecasting Arctic oscillation to go. So through most of the autumn so far, we have actually had a negative Arctic oscillation. That tells us we have blocking over the Arctic and over the North Pole. We're still negative with the AO at the moment, but quite a significant change from the second half of October being predicted here as the AO is forecast to go into positive phase then. The LEO also on the move, so we have also had quite a long-term negative LEO through this autumn so far. We are still really quite significantly negative with the LEO at the moment, but again, the GFS ensembles are forecasting that the LEO will go into positive territory through the second half of October. So, with the AO and the LEO both going into positive territory, that tells us, one, that the blocking signal will be reducing over the Arctic and over North Pole. Two, we're probably going to see a strengthening of the zonal westerly flow across the Atlantic, so a strengthening of the Icelandic low and the Azores high, and just generally probably quite a mild but potentially quite unsettled signal for the second half of October, with west-southwesterlies, the prevailing westerlies, sort of coming back and returning to ascendancy, really, after being a little bit disruptive through the autumn so far. So a much more typical zonal westerly, southwesterly type pattern potentially setting up here for the second half of October. This is how the extended forecast is looking from Kyle Critchy. So at the moment, again, we confirm that we are negative with the Arctic oscillation down here, but forecasting that through the second half of October, the Arctic oscillation will go positive. It looks like that's, just a deviation, though, and actually the CFS model, the CFS is a bit unreliable, but CFS model looks like it's still forecasting the AO to generally be in a long-term negative phase, and notice going particularly negative, interestingly, through the second half of December there. That coincides nicely with Christmas. So that tells us that the CFS anyway is forecasting quite a bit of blocking around the mid to late December period at the moment. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that we, in our particular part of the Northern Hemisphere, will get cold from that, though, because it depends very much where the blocking is sitting. But that is quite an interesting forecast. The LEO, in terms of the extended forecast, well, looking like this. So, again, negative at the moment, going positive with the LEO for the second half of October. Possibly going back into sort of weekly negative territory anyway through November and into December. Both of those indexes do look quite interesting from a colder perspective, I have to say. If the AO and the LEO are both in negative territory in December, for example, you could probably expect, quite a coldish month. But again, that's based on a CFS, so CFS is a pretty unreliable model. And this is the first time I've ever used these extended AO and LEO forecast charts from Kyle Critchy. So we're sort of monitoring this to see how well they perform, etc. Take those two extended forecasts with a pinch of salt for now. Okay, oceans data next. Good this, isn't it? Good update. Okay, oceans data next. This is how the oceans were looking where we did last week's SIF winter update. So we've got our 4 areas of interest just here. ENSO region there. Northern Pacific just here with a particular focus on the Northeast Pacific. Indian Ocean over here and North Atlantic Ocean over there. That's how it all looked last week. This is belated. No, I'm so sorry. Dealing with the ENSO region. First of all, I don't think there's been too much change there. Now, we have got a La Nina signature, but it's a weak La Nina signature, particularly through the central and western portion of the ENSO region. Possibly a little bit of a cool down though has taken place in the eastern portion as well. If we go back to last week, that's a setup last week, and then this is the setup this week. So possibly we have seen a bit of a deepening actually of the cold signal around here. I think that's got slightly more intense over the past week. Not much change to the eastern portion of the actual Pacific Ocean. Overall, the landing is still struggling, but it's just about there. Going into the northern Pacific, again, that's how things were looking last week. We're up here now, particularly around there. This is the latest. So I think further cooling has taken place in this northeastern corner of the Pacific Ocean. That's quite interesting. That could be the northern Pacific side to respond to that weak landing signature and possibly going into a cold PDO setup into the Indian Ocean. So quite interesting from the North Pacific perspective. Into the Indian Ocean over here. That's how it looked last week. This is the latest. Not much change, but some cooling has taken place through here. We'll probably have a look at some IOD forecasts, updated IOD forecasts next week, by the way. And then over in the North Atlantic, that is how things were looking last week. This is how things were looking last week, I should say. This is the latest. So you can see the effect that the hurricanes and whatnot are having, can't you? That part just there has been carved out, I would have thought, by a hurricane. And around here as well, we see the influence of Hurricane Milton, that little blue blob just there. However, overall, though, the subtropical Atlantic is in quite a warm phase, particularly around the Caribbean now, actually, and into Gulf of Mexico. So it's still looking pretty primed if we get more development areas there for more hurricanes and tropical storms. Further north, once again, continues to look pretty warm through here. Cooler, though, through the Norwegian Sea. A little bit cooler into the bed and into Bay of Biscay boat, a shallow waters boat, and respond quickly to the weather and that, you know. So as far as the 7-day change is concerned, so in the ENSO region, it is varying, but we have, I think, seen a little bit of a cool down through this area anyway. So I think the landing signature has strengthened slightly in the past week. In the Northern Pacific, we see things continuing to cool down over the past 7 days through there. In the Indian Ocean, cooling through here, warming down here. And then in the North Atlantic Ocean, a lot of areas have actually cooled, especially around here. I think that's going to be the influence of Hurricane Kyle there. Probably. This area has warmed. That's like the place where the tropical storms and that and hurricanes develop around the Cabo Verde Islands, from Canaries down to the Cabo Verdes. All that area has warmed, and still warming really into the Caribbean as well. Gulf of Mexico has cooled a bit. That's probably an effect from Milton. Overall, it looks like the Atlantic, in the Northern Atlantic, is cooling somewhat, and like the tropical, subtropical Atlantic generally is still warming, except in those areas where we see a particular impact from hurricanes and that. Right, Summer Oscillation Index looks like this. The SY is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric states. It's measuring air pressures between Tahiti and Darwin. It doesn't drive anything, so in turn just tells what the atmosphere is doing. These two columns are for barometric pressure for Tahiti and Darwin, and this is the daily SY contribution. So we have seen more positivity of the SY, more consistent positivity anyway of the SY over the past week. We have the 5th of October here coming out at +2, 6th of October coming out +10, 7th of October coming out +15, 8th of October coming out +9, 9th of October coming out at +4, 10th of October coming out +7, 11th of October coming out +8, 12th of October coming out at +5. They're quite weak positive numbers, but consistent positivity of the SY in the past week. Remember, when the SY is in a positive phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. When the SY is in a negative phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. What's been going on through the summer and into the autumn is that we've been getting the ocean fighting against the atmosphere. So the atmosphere has been swinging wildly between some days that have been in La Nina state, but many other days have been in El Nino state. We haven't seen consistent La Nina type atmospheric setup in the Southern Ocean, but we may be starting to see the the first signs of that? It's possible we are, and if we do, the ocean is well primed, you know, to set up landing. So we may be just starting to see the first signs of the ocean and the atmosphere begin to couple there. The 30-day average on the graph, which is the red line, is ticking up slightly as well. So back at the beginning of October, went negative with the 30-day average, which isn't really what you expect when you're strengthening landing your face in October. But we might be starting to see the SOI, the 30-day SOI average beginning to shift. That could be something to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks, I think. Then 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. So this is how the scores, obadors are looking. Miss 4, we have had 13 tropical storms so far, 13 depressions and storms, I should say. 9 hurricanes and 4 major Category 3 or above hurricanes, including, of course, Hurricane Milton. This is the updated ACE page from Ace Master Shrine. Thank you, shout out Ace Master Shrine Brian for updating this. Now, ACE is measuring how much energy each of these individual storms is giving out, and then coming to an overall seasonal sort of ACE number. Classification below normal, near normal, above average, hyperactive, coming down to 2024. We can see that our ACE is now sitting at 140.60 after 13 tropical storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. How does that compare to the running average? So, at this point in the season, you expect, 12th of October, you expect ACE to be at 104.70. So we're now above average for ACE. Now, it's only a couple of weeks ago, but it was below average. So a huge flip has taken place. A lot of that is down to the effect of Hurricane Milton, I think. But anyway, you expect to be at 104.70 for ACE after 12 tropical storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major. So all of the numbers are now above average. We've had more tropical storms, 1 more tropical storm than average. We have had 3 more hurricanes than average, and 1 more major Category 3 or above hurricane than average. And notice for 2023, last year, our ACE came out at 145.60. That's after 20 tropical storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 majors. So we're not all that far from last year's total accumulated cyclone energy. And we've still got some ways to go. It's only like the middle of October, so we could still have some more hurricanes through the second half of tropical storms through the second half of October and into November as well. Could in the end we end up hyperactive? Probably need to put on around another 40 points to get to hyperactive. So it's not inconceivable that the forecast we all have for a hyperactive season might actually verify in the end. Shrine also sent me this through, showing current season North Atlantic Ocean ACE, just to show how dramatic this season has been for ACE. So this blue line just here, or this lavender line, is like the average. So at the very beginning of the season, of course, we was above average. We had a pretty active or a pretty strong storm in July. Then we sort of went actually below average, though, into the beginning of September. We had a shutdown in the tropical Atlantic. But look how this year has gone vertical for ACE. So we're now up here. So pretty dramatic development, quite unusual developments, I think, and quite an unusual tropical storm and or Atlantic hurricane season this year. And of course, we're going to wait to see how much further upwards, indeed, if we do, we go with that blue line in the next few weeks. Okay, what a 7th update, unbelievable, and we're still not done yet, so we're only at 45 minutes. I think I'm going to be able to keep this under the hour, fingers crossed. Last thing I'm going to show you is Eurasian snow cover data, going all the way back to the 1960s, so more about that in a second, but I'll have one more little break, and then when we return, we will conclude the 7th winter update. So I'll see you soon, everyone. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the third and final section of this epic 7th winter 2024-25 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you've enjoyed it, mini sort of special up start. If you've enjoyed it, please you like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. Don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Tell them about the unique content that we're producing here on the channel. You can't see this level of in-depth content anywhere else on YouTube. I don't believe anyway. So tell your friends and family if you think they'd be interested in what we're doing here with our experimental but also very, very fun winter updates. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much to Shrine Ace Master for the data in the end of the last section. Right, the last thing to look at is Eurasian snow cover data, so let's do that. This is how things looking in terms of Eurasian snow cover last week when we did the 6th winter update, and this is the latest. So, goodness gracious me, and wow, we have seen some very significant gains in snow cover across Russia, across Siberia, and in central parts of Russia. And interestingly, we have also seen some quite significant gains across Scandinavia and Nordic regions, particularly Sweden, but also Norway as well, and a little bit through parts of Finland also. Interesting. So Scandinavia and Nordic regions, we now need to keep an eye on those. Quite a significant increase there, isn't it, compared from last week to this week. But how are we doing compared to previous years? Let's see. So the first year, of course, is 2023. Remember, we're looking at both Scandinavia and Nordic regions and also Russia now. So compared to last year, probably close to last year for Scandinavian snow cover. I'll say Scandinavian, but I also mean Scandinavian and Nordic. It's just a time-saving thing. So I'm not forgetting about you guys in Norway and and Finland and that, you know, don't worry. Just saying Scandinavia, but that does also encompass Nordic regions as well. Okay, so we're probably quite close to last year for Scandinavia, but we are significantly ahead of last year for Russian snow cover. Right, how do we compare to 2022? Well, we're ahead of 2022 for Scandinavian and also Russian snow cover. That's 2021. How do we compare to that year? We're ahead of 2021 for Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. That is 2020. We're ahead of 2020 for Scandinavian and also Russian snow cover. That is 2019. How are we comparing to that one? I reckon we are close for Scandinavian snow cover, but significantly ahead for Russian snow cover there. We're also significantly ahead of 2018 for Scandinavian and also Russian snow cover, particularly Russian snow cover. That's 2017. We're ahead of that year too for Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. We're doing really well, aren't we, after this last week? That's 2016, and we're ahead of that year as well for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. That's 2015. So that might be the first year we're a little bit behind, especially for Russian snow cover, but we are ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. And that's 2014. What do you think about that one? We're probably quite close for Russian snow cover, and ahead for Scandinavian snow cover, I think. And then that's 2013. So ahead of 2013 for Scandinavian snow cover, probably quite close for Russian snow cover. That is 2012. We're ahead of 2012 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. We're well ahead of 2011 for Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. And that's 2010. We're ahead of that year as well for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. That's 2009, which is a very interesting one. So that's one of the few years that we are behind for Scandinavian snow cover, but ahead for Russian snow cover in 2009. Quite an unusual year, that one. That's 2008, so we're ahead of 2008 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. We're ahead of 2007 as well for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2006, way ahead of 2006 for Scandinavian / Nordic snow cover, but perhaps a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. And then that's 2005. We're ahead of 2005 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2004. What do you think about that year? Oh, I think we're ahead of 2004 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover as well. Going even further back, that's 2003. We're ahead of 2003, certainly for Russian snow cover, probably also for Scandinavian snow cover. 2002, we're a little bit behind. We're behind 2002 for Russian snow cover, but perhaps ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. And then that's 2001. We're ahead in all areas of 2001. We've done really well, haven't we, for snow cover in the past week? Blimey, that's 2000. We're ahead of that year as well for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover, and that's 1999. We're ahead of that year for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover too. And then as far back as we go for this archive is 1998, and we're probably quite close to 1998 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. We go even further back though, and so with this you've got to kind of turn your head upside down. So stand on your head and it'll make sense. So this is from Rutgers Snow Lab. We've got the UK just there, Scandinavia is just there, and then of course this is Russia just here. That's going to be Europe just there. It's just so you know where everybody is. It kind of defaults set to America and Canada. We're interested in Russia and Scandinavia. So I won't do a year-by-year comparison. You know, just keep that in mind. That's where the snow line is across Russia at the moment, and that's how things are looking in Scandinavia and in the Nordic regions. Okay, right, so let's do this bit. So we're ahead of 1997 for Russian and also the Scandinavian snow cover. We are ahead of 1996 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We are probably a little bit behind 1995 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. We are probably a little bit ahead, or maybe quite close to 1994, Russian snow cover, ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. 1993, probably a little bit ahead of 1993 for Russian snow cover and for Scandinavian snow cover as well. We're ahead of 1992 for Russian snow cover, although note that the snow line had actually got to the northwest of Russia at this point, but all of this area was sort of snow-free. Anyway, I think we're a little bit ahead of 1992 there. In 1991, we're ahead of 1991 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We are probably quite close to 1990 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian and Nordic snow cover. We are probably, again, quite close to 1989 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. Way ahead of 1988 in all areas. Way ahead of 1987 in all areas as well. Probably quite close to 1986. It's quite subjective. Let me know in the comments which years you think the closest to. Probably quite close to 1986 for Russian snow cover, ahead for Scandinavian. Nordic snow cover ahead in all areas of 1985. Probably a little bit behind 1984 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian and Nordic snow cover, and probably a little bit behind 1983 as well for Russian snow cover, but ahead Scandinavian snow cover. So we've done really quite well for Scandinavian snow cover over the past week in particular. 1982, probably quite close match. Areas covered a little bit different across Russia, ahead for Scandinavian. Nordic snow cover ahead of 1981, I think, in both Russia and Scandinavia, and also ahead of 1980, ahead of 1979, I think, as well. Probably ahead of 1978 as well, Russia and also Scandinavian snow cover. Behind 1977 for Russian snow cover, perhaps quite close to for Scandinavian snow cover. Behind 1976 for Russian snow cover as well. Again, maybe quite close for Scandinavian Nordic snow cover. Probably a little bit ahead of 1975 in all areas. 1974, that might be closer for Russian snow cover. We're ahead both Scandinavian snow cover. 1973, I think we're ahead of that year for Scandinavian snow cover. Perhaps about on par, 73 Russian snow cover. That's 1972. Perhaps a little bit behind that year for Scandinavian and Nordic snow cover. Perhaps a bit ahead for Russian snow cover. That's 71. Wondering about that year. So again, perhaps a bit behind that year for Scandinavian and Nordic snow cover, but for Russian snow cover, could be quite closely matched. We're behind 1970 for Russian snow cover, probably quite close to Scandinavian snow cover, no days 69. We're behind 1968, definitely for Scandinavian and Nordic snow cover, and probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover as well. That's 1967, so perhaps quite close to that year. Russian snow cover, a bit ahead of Scandinavian snow cover, and finally 1966 we're behind that year for Russian and also for Scandinavian snow cover. Blimey, 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 goodness gracious me. What a 7th winter 2024-25 update. And again, I brought it in under an hour. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into what I know has been a very long video, but at least I'm keeping them under the hour, aren't I? So thank you so much, everyone. Been another epic update. Of course, all of these updates individually are important unto themselves, but also building up a picture forensically for our winter forecast. And as I said, we are now at the halfway point of winter updates. So we're moving into a business and we're going to bring you more and more driver data over the next few weeks. Thank you so to Richard Traw for all the help on this winter update. Thank you so to Shrine Bruin for all the help on this winter update. Thank you so to Terry Scully for all the help on this winter update. Hashtag Team Gav. Amazing, 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 amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so to all of you for watching the update, liking, sharing, subscribing, and being absolutely awesome. Going to be live at 6 p.m. with our live stream, so we'll discuss this winter update, do a 10 to 14 day, and we'll show you some long range on that live stream as well. And don't forget, at the beginning of next week's 8th update, you'll find out how this 7th update has moved the swingometer, indeed, if it has. Okay, we'll end it there. So, 54 minutes. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye for now.